I'm John Stahl-Wert, and along with my colleagues around the world, we're devoted to serving men and women who are committed to make the biggest positive impact they can in the world through their leadership. The last time I recorded with you, I talked about aligning our understanding of our business practice to the business of God. And I said during those reflections that the marketplace, business practice, properly understood and in fact largely practiced around the world, makes a direct contribution to the goodness of the world. Today I want to talk about the second reason that Center for Serving Leadership uses the word serving in our model. And as I shared before, I am often asked, why do you call this serving leadership? Isn't that soft? Isn't that a little sentimental? In fact, isn't business just about driving activities to achieve profits? And the first comments I made about this in the prior session, I said that we use the word serving because every good business leader on earth, and most of them have a mind to serve their customers. They go to work every day realizing that there's a customer that they made a promise to, and they need to do the hard work of that day and pull their teams together in order to serve their customer well. Most business leaders, the vast majority of business leaders, are not preoccupied with serving themselves. They're not there trying to figure out how to cut corners and cheat and steal and lie because they want themselves to be uplifted. They know that they need to do something for others. Today, I want to talk about a second reason we use the word serving. Business leaders who deliver sustainable value in the world are serving standards. They have a set of standards that they believe matter, and they will make a decision that loses them money before they will violate their standards. So we serve customers, and in order to serve customers well, we have to serve standards. Think about it with me for just a little bit. When you have an idea about something good you can do in the world, and you convince your husband or your wife to put a second mortgage on the house and gather a little equipment so you can begin to exercise yourself in that space that you felt was good, and then you go out there and do certain things to live up to the promise, the quality, the timeliness, whatever it is that you said you would do, the tastiness, and you pull it off. Then you have to do it again because that customer says, boy, I like that, I'm coming back. And if you don't do it the same way the second time, if the standard falters because it would be easier to do it a different way, you've just lost your business. You've lost that customer. You've lost the referral power of that customer. They're not going to say nice things about you to the neighbor or to the friend or on Yelp or what have you. The standard matters, and business leaders have standards. They have values they won't violate. We're going to treat people right. We're going to keep our promises, etc. And they teach those things, and they have practice standards they won't violate. We do it this way because this is the way that works. If we do it a different way, our product will break, or it will fail, or it will be inconsistent, and then we will lose our business. We call this serving leadership because every great enterprise on earth is driven by standards they serve. And again, think about it. In the push of life, in the push of business, in the press of the impossibility of our day, things come up where we look at it and say, if we skipped that step, if we ignored that standard operating procedure, if we sort of skimped on that thing that we said is our non-negotiable, we could get the job done and go home and get some rest, or we could save some money and what have you. And good business leaders don't do that. They serve the standard. They say, I know it's tough. I know it. And again, give me any business that's been out there for more than 2 or 3 years and has grown because their reputation has grown and has added team members because, the demand for their services has exceeded the ability of the founder to handle it because their reputation has grown. Show me any business, and I will find tens and hundreds and thousands of stories of things they did that were harder for them, but they did it because they had a standard. Serving leaders are called serving leaders because they're not in it for a buck. They need the buck. Don't misunderstand me. They are aware of the profit margin. They are aware of the return on investment, but they're not doing it in service primarily to the buck. They're doing it because they have a standard to serve. And I want to tell you just a quick story. I had the amazing joy and privilege of spending about a day and a quarter a month ago with Horst Schulze, who came into Pittsburgh to do some things with a friend of mine named Doug Smith. And I was invited to be part of that, and so had a breakfast and had a dinner and a breakfast, and then had the opportunity to speak, and Horst was speaking. Many of you know who Horst Schulze is. He founded the Ritz-Carlton. And frankly, when I learned some time back that the founder of the Ritz-Carlton was still alive, I thought, that's a company of such global, vast reputation, it couldn't possibly have been created by someone who's still alive. That's got to be a generational company. But indeed, this 85-year-old man, Horst, founded the company. And I want to just tell you a quick story that he shared that illustrates this business of the importance of serving standards. The importance of you, I want you to be thinking about this through the lens of your own work. The importance of you being clear about what your values are. This is what I value. This is my standard. This is how we do the work here. It's not that you don't fall short. You do. That's not hypocrisy to say I have a standard and I fell short. Here's hypocrisy. I tell people I have a standard, but that was just for window dressing. I really don't have the standard. I just want them to be impressed. That's hypocrisy. Falling short is not hypocrisy. Falling short is human. But we have a standard, and we aspire to that standard, and we keep working on correcting the errors and what have you. So young Horst Schulze in Germany was passionate about becoming a hotel manager. And in his family, that was not an honorable passion. As a boy, 7, 8, 9 years old, he wanted to work at a hotel. Where did this come from? Be an engineer, be a doctor. That was the family standard. But Horst was excited about working in a hotel. It was planted in him. And at a certain point, his family, his mom and dad realized this is unwavering. And so they arranged for him to have an internship in a town about 90 kilometers away, so he couldn't commute. And it was in a grand and highly esteemed hotel with a grand restaurant, the kind of the center of that town. All the dignitaries came there. And so he had to move there and move into a dormitory there. He was 14 years old. I'm telling you this story because I want you to understand the world-changing impact of a business that serves a standard. I want you to understand this. And so 14 years old, Horst goes to the hotel, and he meets the man who will be his boss, because he's going to start out in the kitchen. He's going to do the grunge work of the kitchen, cleaning the ashtrays for the men who smoke the cigars and scrubbing the pots in the back. That's where he started. And so, 6 a.m. every morning to 11 p.m. every night, and 1 day a week going to hotel class. And when he arrived, he met with the maitre d', who was a gentleman of advanced age who had been there many years. And the maitre d' said to young Horst, show up here tomorrow morning at this station at 6 a.m. Now, young Horst, if I had meant 6:01 a.m., I would have said 6:01. And Horst got the message. And so the next day he showed up and he began to work and doing the things he needed to do. But he kept noticing the dignity, the sense of worth that this hotel man had. He carried himself with a sense of dignity and worth. He held himself to a standard of quality, and that was wonderful in the midst of all the work. He held his employees to that standard. And young 14-year-old Horst is scrubbing things and watching this maitre d'. And one day he was out in the restaurant and he was cleaning ashtrays on the tables, and a group of dignitaries had come in. The mayor was there and some business leaders from the town. And these were the important people of the community, and they came to a hotel. Remember, in Horst's childhood, the idea had been that, there's important work and there are important people, and then there is less important work and there are less important people. And his dream to work at a hotel was tough for his mom and dad because that was lesser important work done by lesser important people. And he watched these dignitaries, these important people, doing important work, sitting at a table. And after they had been there a few minutes, the maitre d' entered the dining area and walked toward the table. And Horst was astonished to see that all the men arose to shake his hand. And they were pleased that he had come to their table. And Horst said, that is very interesting. And in his young imagination, he said, those important men see this hotel man as a person of worth. They stood. They seemed to feel as though the hotel man had dignified them by his presence. And this caught his attention. It lifted his spirit. It attached itself to his own desire to do something meaningful, even though he had been driven to work in an industry that everyone around him had said is less meaningful. And a couple of weeks later, he's going every week to the hotel class because in exchange for what I imagine was free labor, room and board, free labor, and such, he was getting training in hotel management in the hotel industry. At the end of one course, several months into it, the teacher in the hotel class asked the students to write an essay on what is the hotel business. What is the hotel business? And those of you who know the Ritz-Carlton brand now, we're looking at this story from the end of it rather than the beginning of it many, many years ago. So 14-year-old Horst, he's 85 now. So, we're going back, let me do the math. Is that 61 years ago? 71? No, it's more. Bad math. We see the end of the story when it looks glorious. This is young Horst sitting in a class being asked to write an essay about what is the hotel business. And he didn't know what to say. He was 14. And, he lost sleep and he worried about it. And then an idea came to him. I will write about the maitre d'. And that gave him words. And so he began to write about what he saw through the standard of this man that he looked up to. And as he was writing, an expression came to his mind. And he wrote down, this is 14 years old. We, in the hotel industry, are, ladies and gentlemen, serving ladies and gentlemen. Now, those of you who know Ritz-Carlton know that is the credo of that global brand. We are ladies and gentlemen, serving ladies and gentlemen. It was birthed in the heart and mind of a 14-year-old. It was a standard that he had. And, he did various things, working for other brands and serving various posts before he had the opportunity to build the Ritz-Carlton and then embed the whole of his soul and conviction and vision and dream into the Ritz-Carlton. He even built one more hotel brand after the Ritz-Carlton called Capella. He did that with some friends of mine in Singapore named the Kui family that we've had the privilege of working with. The daughter of the Kui family there, they built the Capella brand to take customer service and the treatment of staff even to another level of excellence. But here's what I want you to observe. We business leaders, serving a standard, are in league with the God of the universe who upholds a standard that is human, that is beautiful, that is excellent, that is about life and flourishment. This 14-year-old boy got a standard. A worker at a hotel is a lady or a gentleman, he saw. Not an unimportant person that you can hire and fire and mistreat. Ladies and gentlemen, serving ladies and gentlemen. End of the story. That produced for Ritz-Carlton a way of thinking about how do we hire and how do we train and how do we treat our people that in fact causes the value proposition of Ritz-Carlton to be what it is. The reason people love going to that hotel is because they get a quality of customer service that is just out of this world. Was out of this world, now is in this world because of the template, the standard that Ritz-Carlton, that Horst Schultz implanted into this world. And how do you get that kind of out of this world customer experience, human experience while going to a hotel? Well, you get it from men and women who work in that hotel, who have it themselves. I was talking many years ago with a man named Mark DeCancinas. Mark was the Ritz-Carlton regional VP for Asia Pacific, and he was also the general manager of the Ritz-Carlton in Kowloon in Hong Kong, the top 30 stories of the International Commerce Center, our world's third tallest commercial building. And here's a quote from Mark DeCancinas, Asia Pacific, Ritz-Carlton. He said, "How would we expect people who come to the Ritz-Carlton to experience extraordinary customer service if we in management and leadership do not treat our people with extraordinary care?" He said it's a through line. The maid who stops what she's doing and rushes to do something special for the customer, the bellboy, the person in the restaurant who goes back into the kitchen and explains how important it is to do something just a little unique that has never been asked for, and the chef back there says, "We'll do it." Why would people behave that way, delivering back out to the customer this wow experience, if they themselves had not had their lives dignified through the way they were treated by leaders? Leaders who make an impact on the world serve a standard that is important because that standard then elevates standards for people. And I tell you this, I think that I could devote the rest of my life, I know I could, to researching all of the other businesses that have upped their game, their standard, on how they treat their people, who actually have had their imagination changed about what an employee is from, a cost center, a production unit, interchangeable, have had their imagination changed about what an employee is because of the reputation and the witness of the Ritz-Carlton, meaning the vision that a 14-year-old boy had about how a worker at work is a person of worth, delivering to a customer a service or a product of worth. I know that the impact of this one man, from his own keeping of standards to the breaking through to the minds of other business leaders so that they change their standards, has flowed out to the world and impacted hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of workers. I know that. I'll give you one more example. When Chick-fil-A decided that they were going to go into the chicken business, which is an interesting business. You can throw chicken sandwiches at customers and collect a little bit from them in return. The founder of Chick-fil-A, Truett Cathy, said, what we're really going into is the service of customers, business. And he said, I don't know how to do that. If you have a customer to serve, then there has to be a standard that you keep so that the customer gets the experience. And when Chick-fil-A started, Truett looked around and said, I got to learn how to do customer service. And he said, I'm going to learn it from the Ritz-Carlton. And so Chick-fil-A, at a couple of bucks a sandwich, put themselves at the feet of Ritz-Carlton at $1,000 a night to understand, how do you set a standard that elevates the human experience at work so that the men and women who do the work in a way that elevates the experience of everybody that engages that. And I could trace those stories, I think, for the rest of my life. We leaders are serving leaders. We are if we're good. We are if we stay in business. We are if we produce things that give us the opportunity to grow and flourish as a business. We're serving leaders. There isn't another path. You want to go out of business fast. Don't serve. Don't serve your customer. Don't serve your standards. Cheat your customers. Violate your standards. You want to stay in business a little while, underperform, and then go out of business? You want to spread a reputation that you don't want to go there? Don't serve. Serve yourself. Serve easy. Serve convenient. Serve save a buck. But if you want to flourish in life, as in business, you must be a serving person, a serving leader, serving customers, serving standards. And the marvelous thing that happens, and to me this lifts me to the highest thoughts about the nature of life itself. As we get in touch with this, that our passion to do something in the marketplace requires that we get earnest about serving standards, serving values, serving the non-negotiables. As we get in touch with that, and the marketplace teaches us that we have to do it, violate it, and then we get a penalty for it. I mean, you can dodge it maybe once, you can't dodge it twice. As we get in touch with that, we begin to understand the deeper work that we're doing in the world, and those standards that we serve then become elevating standards that percolate out from us and impact others too. A good business makes life better for the people who work there, makes life better for the customers that are served, makes life better for the vendors who bring in products. Another of the businesses I've worked with closely for many, many years is called Walnut Creek Foods. And they have a standard, and their standard is making life better. Making life better. And they think about that for their employees, for their vendors, for the drivers of the trucks, for the customers they're served, making life better. When we hold up a standard that is required for good business, we are strengthening the infrastructure of goodness in the world. We're producing multiplication engines for goodness in the world. And Horst Schultz's story illustrates that. Before him, read the history of business. Before him, the idea that it really matters that we treat people well at work was less clear. And therefore, because it was less clear, fewer business leaders understood that it mattered, that it was important, that it was vital. They might have wanted to do it, but they didn't understand it as well. Before him raising that standard, it was less clear. People were exchangeable. Next, well, if you don't like your job or you don't like the conditions of your job, I'll find somebody else. Those days are gone. They still exist in pockets on earth. They exist in pockets of industry, but you do not have a future in this world, in your market, in your sector, in your industry, long term, without understanding that we are here to serve a standard. I was with a nursing home some years back in Singapore, All Saints Home. And it was marvelous as I was working with a team of about 50 leaders, the CEO and the people beneath the CEO, to have them say, concerning the way the nurses and the orderlies and the people who delivered the meals and all of that in this very large nursing home, to hear the people say, and this was a Presbyterian nursing home. The residents were of all faiths. There was Muslim and Hindu and Christian and people not of faith and what have you. But the home was run by the Presbyterians, and they said, We are brothers and sisters serving brothers and sisters. And if you think that doesn't impact what happens bedside, when the person who steps up to do something for the resident in the bed, for them to have a standard in their mind that's been planted in their heart that I am a brother to this person. I'm not an orderly collecting a paycheck. I'm a brother. I'm a sister. They are a brother. They are a sister. Then, well, I think you do understand. I was going to say that then you don't know how life works, but I know you do. I know you do. I just really want to encourage you, in the press of our work, which I understand intimately, it is tempting to get a little fuzzy on the standards. It is human and natural to drift a little bit from how we do things here and what we stand for here. In the press, it is natural, it's human, it's tempting to drift a little bit. I just want to encourage you to refocus. I know that you are committed to doing the work you do against a standard that lets you sleep well at night, and lets you answer to your conscience. I know that. I just want to encourage you to refocus. Your standards matter. They are at the heart of your value proposition, and they are the seed bed, the soil source for the production of all kinds of good things in the world, well beyond the running of your business and the maintaining of your enterprise over time. They add life to life itself.
For more information about the Center for Serving Leadership, visit our website at centerforservingleadership.com.